about the food was when our Northeast warehouse had actually caught fire, and we had to start bringing in food from our closest warehouse in the Trader Joe's network. As it turns out, the closest warehouse in the Trader Joe's network outside of the northeastern warehouse we have is in California. So what happened is for 2 weeks, Sunday through Monday, every single day, 18-wheeler trucks would leave California and trek across country to deliver food to Boston. And so that started me asking a lot of questions about, well, where's the rest of this food coming from? Not just in our grocery store, but also in like other grocery stores outside of Trader Joe's. And how can I start to participate in a food system that I believe is maybe a little bit more localized and more sustainable? So one of the things that I started doing research and trying to figure out how I could do this, and people kept telling me, well, you have to vote with your fork, right? It's important to shop at farmers markets and to turn up your backyard into a garden. So I did those things. And I felt good about myself. I felt like I was part of the food system that I wanted to be a part of. I was living my values. At the same time, I started to realize that not everybody has those same options. So you talk about voting with your fork, not everyone has the same selection of candidates. And sometimes a lot of people are actually voting by default. This is not an official graph, by the way. This is just taken from The Onion. But I thought it was really interesting because, like, once again, made up numbers, but it says like 29% is so how you choose your presidential candidate. 29% is whatever the default is. And I started asking these questions like, well, what's the default in our food system? What's the default in the grocery store? What's the default in the dining halls? And so one of the biggest default food systems in this country is actually university dining halls. It is a $5 billion a year industry that universities collectively spend on food. And in particular, 2/3 of universities in this country outsource all of their food to one of 3 companies. To give you a sense of the scale, these are basically the candidates that university dining halls are voting for. Sodexo, Compass, and Aramark. These numbers here are the global annual revenue in billions of dollars. To give you a sense of comparison, if these 3 companies, if their global revenues are combined, it's more than double McDonald's. So people think about McDonald's as like, this is the company that's actually choosing where our food is coming from and what kinds of agricultural systems we practice. But actually, these 3 combined are more than double McDonald's. So we started asking this question at the Real Food Challenge: how do we work with these companies, work with university students in order to change this system? And so what we started coming up with was basically focusing on 2 things, and one is transparency. So we found out that university students, and a lot of people actually aren't even sure what kind of food is coming into their dining halls. And so we use a tool called the Real Food Calculator, in which students actually do an audit of their own university, going line item by line item, and figuring out where exactly is that food coming from, what are the growing practices that the food vendor who's producing it, and how are the workers that are producing that food, how are they treated, and what kind of payments are they receiving for their labor. So we've just recently signed kind of a landmark agreement with Sodexo, which is like one of those big 3. And Sodexo now has said that they're in support of our calculator and transparent system, so that any university student at a Sodexo school, which is 500 universities across the country, can now run the calculator and see exactly where their food is coming from. So that's the first part, is transparency and giving people power through information. And the second part is commitment. So once again, that number, $5 billion every single year, our goal is to shift 20% of that, which is $1 billion, into a real food economy. So we define that as 4 categories. That's sustainable food, local food, humanely raised, and fairly traded. So far, since starting the commitment process just in 2012, we've been around as an organization beforehand, but the commitment process started in 2012. We've had 12 universities signing on, committing 20% by 2020, some signing on at higher levels. What you're seeing here is the commitment of Oberlin College, actually just earlier this year, signing on and dedicating, making the pledge that they're going to commit 40% of their dining hall budget to real food. And we're seeing Barr, which is a small school in New York, that just committed to 40 to 60%. And right now, we are seeing the very first schools in Massachusetts, probably by the end of this semester, that are going to sign on to the commitment as well. One of the big ones being UMass Amherst, which is one of the largest public universities in New England, making that commitment. And so this is a matter of, not just voting with the fork, but actually changing the entire system and the structure of the system and focusing around transparency and an institutional commitment towards real food.
Murray, and I work for the Dorchester Community Food Co-op, and I'm really happy to be here. I've lived in Dorchester for about 15 years, and I wouldn't live anywhere else. I have a lot of Dorchester pride. It's the largest, for those who may not know, it's the largest neighborhood in Boston and also the most diverse, which brings amazing, rich, and beautiful experiences for those of us who live there. There are also challenges in Dorchester, one being access to food. Of course, there are grocery stores in Dorchester, but in some parts of Dorchester, the distance between where people live and where people get their food is great. It's great enough to actually be a barrier or a hindrance. And also, there are some places where you can get to food pretty easily, but the food that you're getting, that you're purchasing, isn't the freshest, or the nutritional value has diminished. So those are very real challenges that we in Dorchester are grappling with. And so the Dorchester Community Food Co-op is one solution, not the only one, but it's one solution that really meets this challenge. Our vision for the Dorchester Community Food Co-op is to really build a community-owned, worker-owned grocery store in Dorchester. So this store would be in the center of Dorchester. It would have nutritional food, fresh food, food that's affordable, and food that's accessible to the community. The model of the store is a co-op, and we're really excited about that because that ensures that the residents in Dorchester who are members of the co-op own the store, that it really is their vision, the power, the dollars are in their hands, and the value of this store, this resource, benefits the community. So we're really happy that it's going to be a co-op. In addition to the store, just being brick and mortar grocery store, it's also, we're planning on it being a real hub of community development. So the store, we want to partner with other co-ops. We want to partner with other community organizations in Dorchester. We want there to be rooftop gardening. We want there to be space in the store for workshops and educational talks about how to cook food and demystifying some of all this food jargon that we all hear about that confuses me and lots of us. So we really want the store to be an agent or a catalyst for revitalizing the neighborhood and really giving back to the community. Right now we have about 300 members of our co-op, and we're looking to open our doors in late 2014. We're partnering, like I said, with community organizations. We're doing outreach and organizing to ensure that the many communities that live in Dorchester are really a part of building this co-op, not later, but now a part of building and contributing to the vision of what it looks like and feels like and what role it really plays in all of our lives. What else? I'm like rushing. We've had a couple of successful initiatives now as we build towards the store. Those include 2 really successful winter farmers markets in Dorchester, and also a community supported cafe that we had last summer. So again, more than a store, we're really wanting to build a movement. We really want to increase the wellness. In Dorchester, we really want to increase the community investment, and we want residents to be a part of this empowerment model. So we're really excited about it. There are definitely challenges around how to make the food affordable, challenges around making sure that the outreach is thorough and inclusive. Those are definite challenges, but I think we're up for it. So if you want to talk to me more about it, I'll see you in the breakout session. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Laura Holmes, and I'm here with my co-workers Josefina and Evelyn, and we're going to tell you about Fagle. We know we've been talking all day about this new food economy, and we've been talking a lot about the food we eat and how we want to eat good food and grow good food and buy good food and sell good food and share good food and all that. And then what do? Well, we're on the zero waste end of things. This is a story about residents in Dorchester, Roxbury, and East Boston who came together and wanted to create a worker-owned co-op to start with to provide jobs for themselves. They wanted to create good green jobs in communities of color in Boston. I got hired on as their startup manager in October, and since then we've been putting together this business plan that we're going to tell you about. It's a two-phase business plan, and in the first phase, to get 10 people to work right away, we're starting a source separation zero waste hauling service that's going to start out with clients who are restaurants in Roxbury, Dorchester, and East Boston, where we'll model zero waste practices, we'll save money for the businesses, and we'll make a good living for the members of the co-op.
Soy Evelyn Fuentes, vivo en East Boston y soy trabajadora dueña para la cooperativa Cero.
My name is Evelyn Fuentes. I live in East Boston, and I am a worker owner of the Cero Co-op.
Y estoy muy emocionada porque es una cooperativa bilingüe, multicultural. Nuestros colegas, pues, vamos a poder ayudar a los comerciantes que hablan diferentes lenguas, y por eso yo me siento cómoda hablando en español.
I'm very excited that we are a bilingual organization, co-op, and that we are catering toward a multicultural and diverse community. And I feel very proud that I can speak Spanish.
Sí, en este proyecto vamos a tener trabajo a un salario justo, y como inversionista, pues los empleos van a quedar en la comunidad.
And we're going to be giving just salaries to the people involved in the project, so that we can help in the community additionally.
That's my part.
Good afternoon, everybody. Buenas tardes a todos. I am Josefina Luna. I'm a Latin American woman. I'm living in Boston for 20 years, the last 11 years in Dorchester. I'm a community organizer, and I'm a board member in MASCO. MASCO is a Massachusetts Coalition for Healthy and Safety Workplace. In November del 2011, we started to come together, even in working in the idea to have a Coop for a few people, try to bring to Dorchester development, economic and social development. How are we going to do it? We started to working in the community, visiting the owner of the restaurant, and found out the reality about the recycle. And it's very difficult. In 2 blocks, you can find a few companies, a few prices, and the only job, the only they do is put it downstairs in the bath and throw the trash over there. No, the people are very, very interesting, very, they want to recycle, but they don't have the information and they don't have the education. We, instead of, that's the plan. We're going to work with the community, we're going to give them the information and the education to make zero wastes. That means nothing going to be wasted. And we're going to work to make that waste can in compost, and that's why we can have a growing garden, growing food for our community. I'm very excited and I'm very enthusiastic with this project, because in the way we visiting everybody in East Boston, Dorchester, the people are very, very enthusiastic. The people are very, very concerned about global warming, about the recycle. So I ask you to support Zero, and I'm very confident with these people working hard every day. We're going to have a good COP in the community, decent job, dignity for our neighborhood, and at the meantime, we're going to have a development, social and economical development for Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, and East Boston. Thank you.
So now you know what we do. We really are all about being a social venture. That means we have the triple bottom line. We're all about good jobs for the people. We're going to be making a profit in ways that also save money for our customers, and we're going to be caring about the planet. People, profits, and the planet. That's our triple bottom line. The way we're going to get there is we're going to raise $600,000 because we got to buy some trucks. And we're going to make these good jobs and have working capital. So stay tuned, and if you'll sign up on our fan list, you can hear all about it. We're going to kick off an Indiegogo campaign. We're also going to finance part of our venture with a direct public offering so that anybody here in the community, we're going to make accessible to have an owner share investment in this company. It's really going to be responsive to the community. And in phase 2 of our business, we have a much bigger vision. The hauling company is going to make us visible. It's going to get businesses going to zero waste practices, and it's going to put people in jobs. But our bigger vision down the road a couple of years is to open up a eco-energy park in Dorchester. We're going to take a brownfield that we're going to convince the city to give to us, and we're going to anchor it with an anaerobic digester so that we can make our own compost right there. The energy produced from the methane from the AD system is going to be used to incubate other businesses. We're going to use the compost. We're going to work with our partners like the Food Project and REAP and whoever else wants to partner with us for greenhouses. We're going to work with the food co-op and just see we can have that full closed loop food cycle right at home in Dorchester. And we're really looking forward to that and looking forward to y'all's support. So please sign up, and if you come to our workshop, we'll tell you anything else you want to know about Citl. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Kate Pitkoski. I am the CSA and Food Access Coordinator at the New Entry Sustainable Farming Project. Another part of our program is the World Peace CSA and Food Hub. I'll be talking about that as well. The farming project was started out of Tufts Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy, and we are now also in a community partnership with a social service agency based out of Lowell called Community Teamwork Inc. And the program was started in 1998 to serve as an incubator and training farm for immigrants and refugees who wanted to be able to start farming and didn't necessarily have the resources or capacity to do so. In 2007, we decided that we'd open it up to anyone who wanted to enter the farm business. You didn't have to be an immigrant or refugee, you just had to be engaged and passionate about the food system, and we've really seen a lot of our participants kind of changing and seeing that we're still reaching that target hub, but seeing a lot of people who are also excited to become engaged in the food system. So the mission of the New Entry Sustainable Farming Project is to assist individuals with limited resources to start small-scale commercial agriculture. This is not just kind of a community garden project. This is to create a business, a sustainable business for individuals who want to begin small-scale sustainable farming in Massachusetts. And part of that mission is to support the vitality of our regional food systems, because we're hopefully growing new farmers, to build the economic self-reliance and food security among both our participants and their communities, and to expand access to local and culturally appropriate foods for the communities, particularly in and around Lowell, which is a pretty under-resourced community where we're located, and doing that through local food production. So we're trying to tackle a lot of different goals and to really support the vitality of the food system and to kind of teach and support the next generation of farmers in Massachusetts. So this is an overview of kind of the curriculum and programming that we offer, and we do a lot of outreach in different communities in Lowell and in the Boston area to get people aware of our programming. But the kind of start for any individual who wants to become part of our program or to learn if farming is what they need to do is to take our Explore Farming course, which really helps people get a sense of, do I want to do this as a hobby, or is this something I really need to, I can do as a business? And for a lot of the kind of immigrants and refugees, it's what does farming look like in Massachusetts? Because they might have a lot of farming experience in Haiti or Zimbabwe or Cameroon, but it looks very different when you're farming in a very short growing season in Massachusetts. And that leads into our farm business planning class. And this is a really intensive class. We offer 2 cycles of it during the year with a kind of a master farmer who teaches a class. And we really help farmers create a legitimate business plan for what markets they'll serve and what their costs would be, and to create enterprise budgets for all of the different produce that they might grow, so that they really have a sense of, can I make money doing this? And once they take that class, they're eligible to kind of go further in our programs. And this is usually the course that we hope we can at least take. And the biggest one of that is access to land, because a lot of farmers are living in apartments in Lowell or do not have access to viable farmland. So that's definitely one of the biggest kind of incentives for participating and graduating from the farm business planning class. We have 3 incubator training fields in the Merrimack Valley area, and so farmers are eligible to rent land for a very reasonable price at those training fields for their first kind of 3 years post-graduation. They also get one-on-one technical assistance with whatever parts of their farm business they're looking for, and they have access to sell to the World Peas Marketing Cooperative, which really has kind of transformed over the past 2 years into a full-scale food hub. We offer livestock trainings, field trainings, other advanced workshops, and of course, a great list of resources, and especially our mobile poultry processing unit, which for livestock producers is really valuable to get access to that. So the farmer training programs are certainly the core of all our programs. We want to be able to give farmers the capacity to be able to learn what it's like to farm without having to put too much capital up front. So they are eligible to rent 1/4 of an acre at our incubator training sites their first year after they've graduated, 1/2 an acre their second year, and a full acre their third year. And then we work to transition them into independent farm sites if that's what they want to do. And we have a land matching coordinator who works with individuals who have farmable land or schools or other organizations, and to connect our farmers with them. And for a lot of our farmers who might have limited English capacity or limited other capacities, being able to work with a farmland matching coordinator to find this accessible land really helps make that transition a lot easier for them. And we provide technical assistance and support to them in any way that they need once they've transitioned onto their own independent site, but we certainly want them to become more self-sufficient. And then the third way that we help farmers is by providing a very flexible, high-paying market through our World Peas CSA and Food Hub. And so this is a CSA that serves communities all over the greater Boston area, and more than half the produce is sourced from our farmers. Any farmer who's graduated from our program is eligible to sell to the cooperative, and I work with them over the winter to create specific crop plans so that they can sell great amount of produce to the CSA. Last year we served about 400 shareholders in the greater Boston area. We're hoping to do that again this year, and we also work with institutions, with Tufts Dining Services, the Tufts Farmers Market here, and a bunch of other ways. So we basically want to be able to empower farmers who don't necessarily have the capacity to access those direct to customer markets through our World Peas Food Hub. So I look forward to talking with you more in breakout groups. Thank you.
Hey guys. So my name is Nataka Creighton Walker. I'm representing the Urban Farming Institute. It's an organization that started last year. And actually it's not an irony that the new entry sustainable farming, I'm a graduate of the program, and we actually do similar things in Boston. And actually Jen Hashley is on our board. And basically, so I'm gonna kind of go back to how I kind of got here, because this is something that is a value for me. It's a passion for me. I was an earth baby, as we all are, came into the world. I swam in rivers, loved being barefoot. I still walk through Boston barefoot. I don't know if there are any barefooters in the audience. We'll continue that for the rest of my life. I was homeless also for the most of my life, from the time I was 13 to the time I was 23. So I was, always had food, but I was hungry a lot. And so I really understood, not having a place and not having food, I understood the importance and the value of food. And so as I grew through my life, knowing that this was my world, despite my circumstance, I continued to push through that, which meant that for me, food was important. Learning how to heal through food was important for me. And so I kind of, dipped and dabbed here and there, and went through some other things in my 20s that I won't recall today. But what it did do for me, never underestimate even these brief conversations. And there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot that we hope and wish to see in the world. And don't underestimate the power of just this move, just this dialogue that we're having here today. Even for little kids, as parents, it goes a long way. And some of the things that my parents taught me, I'm now seeing made a real impact on how I think about the world. I had the benefit of not eating out of cans. She fed me fresh food. We, made Chinese food and Spanish food, and so I got a kind of a variety. And that was before I was homeless, but I still got good starts in my childhood. So I kind of went from there to deciding I wanted to grow my own food. And I met my husband, and then we had one garden, then several other gardens, and then all of a sudden, we're living in Lower Roxbury, and we're like, okay, we got a market way down, Whole Foods, mind you. So most of the community that we live in is low income. It's developments all the way around. So most people cannot really afford to go to Whole Foods, or people are like, well, just kind of choose more expensive because it's better for you. That really doesn't work for most people's pockets. And so, there's a Tropical Foods, which is a great market up the street, but then far away, miles and miles away, is another grocery store. So we were like, okay, well, how do we begin to like bring fresh vegetables into the community? And so we tried to get farms in the community, and we couldn't find a farm to come. One, it was too much of a new farm. In some neighborhoods, it's too much of a conversation about that neighborhood, what the demographics are, how violent it is, whatever. So we said, okay, fine, we're going to become farmers ourselves. And so that day we became farmers, and really learning from the training that after that, so we got married also, and then went to the program, and we're really committed to learning how to farm, and beyond that, really the whole conversation about how can we create this the world that we want to live in, where everybody gets to have the same things and have access to the same things. And so a couple years later, we actually met Glenn Lloyd, who runs both City Fresh Foods and also City Growers. And my husband and I became farmers for City Growers 2 years ago. So it's now the third year, where he's now also the farm manager, which I'm really proud of in Boston. But what ended up happening was we got into a conversation about how can we really support this. So the City Growers model is one that says, yes, we can create farm enterprises in an urban setting, and it be something that an individual or family can actually live off of, and be good with it. And so this model is one that we're trying to continue. And in order to do that, we need structures, we need institutions. We need places like the New Entry and the Urban Farming Institute to really support that. And so we're looking at land. We've got several plots of land. So zoning issues with the city, transferring vacant lots into space that can be used for commercial purposes. I mean, we got lots of community gardens. I love it. I'm still a gardener. But we also need space to really grow this economy, to grow this industry. And so the Urban Farming Institute both provides. We have 8 farmers that we just trained that are now going into the field training. So they did do business planning, and from that, each time we get a new lot, they get to go on it, and they get the skills that they need. They also get the support, the technical support from the Institute and other groups like yourselves, to really support that enterprise. And so it's phenomenal. We're actually looking for partners to go to the next piece, which is education and policy. We're not trying to recreate the wheel. So, policies development research is being done all over the country, but we want to pull people together and really link these things up so we can have a strong, green economy, strong growing economy, food economy. I'm done. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Darnell Adams. I'm the managing director at Crop Circle Kitchen, located in Jamaica Plain. Crop Circle Kitchen is a not-for-profit founded in the summer of 2009 that took over from the soon-to-be-closed New Western Culinary Ventures, a shared commercial kitchen and business incubator. When we took over, the general sentiment was, what? That loosely translates to, you're crazy. Kitchen incubators do not work. So, to date, we've landed 120 companies. We've launched, 120 companies. We've graduated 10 companies into their own dedicated space, which has created over 200 permanent jobs.
All right.
Awesome. Jobs created by business who are presently currently members at Crop Circle Kitchen range around 80 to 100 people depending on the time of year. The majority of those businesses are owners who live locally, and a large majority are minority and women-owned businesses. So who are these graduates? You might have heard of some of them. Down Home Delivery, Slow Food in Dorchester, it is good. Voltage Coffee House, they're in Kendall Square. Clover Fast Food, it's vegetarian food. They have bricks and mortar in Cambridge, but also food trucks all over Boston. Batch Ice Cream, 2 words, salted caramel. Eat it, it's amazing. Who are the new crops of members? Well, sweet idea. So when the good students of Tufts and other area universities are studying late into the night and they happen to have the munchies, they'll call Sweet Idea and they'll have cookies delivered to their door. You can't miss them. They're in orange jumpsuits and they're on bicycles. You've seen them, right? Yeah, right? It's a sweet idea. Alex Ugly Sauce. This is a hot sauce. It's amazing. He's so committed to using local produce that he actually has all his peppers grown at Stillman Farm, and he actually produces or processes the peppers only during harvest. Nola Salsa. Oh my gosh, amazing. She started a couple months ago. She's already in 20 stores. You can find her at some Whole Foods. She's at farmers markets as well. I'm really sorry for the salsa addiction that you're going to have. It is so good. Roxy's Grilled Cheese of Food Network fame. They will be building out their own brick and mortar probably by year's end. So here's the thing. We probably are a little crazy. We're a fairly new company. We're relying on fledgling food companies to pay the bills. We give them space and support, and then when they're stable and making money, we find them places for them to go elsewhere and leave. Who thought of that business idea? It's a little crazy. But in order to fix some of the problems in the local food economy, you sometimes need to think out of the box and be a little crazy. Crop Circle Kitchen is determined to be a sustainable business. We believe that nonprofits can sustain themselves by finding operational value in the business model while harvesting societal value via grants. Now that's in the words of my executive director, J.D. Kemp. The way I would say it is that we should be able, and we do, pay for our own operational costs. But certainly grants can help fund our business counseling and educational efforts, among other things. We believe that local food production is a means to create jobs and support business creation, and that the added benefit is providing infrastructure and systems to support local food economy. The next person with a passion and a great idea is out there, and we want to support them and help them grow. We are Crop Circle Kitchen. That is what we do. We're growing. I'm setting the table for Jen, who's going to talk a little bit more about that. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for coming. I guess I got to bring it home, so 5 minutes. Everybody ready for the last 5 minutes? I'm Jen Fagle. I am a serial real estate development consultant. So food is, I like to eat it. I like to support people who make it. And my work is really about trying to figure out how do we finance it, how do we support the businesses that want to do it, how do we create the infrastructure. I actually am the board chair of Crop Circle Kitchen and was involved in creating that, and so thrilled at the work that Darnell and her team have done in JP. One of the things that we saw very clearly in JP, the goal here was not so much about food, it was really about jobs. It was really about business development. And it was really about, if you want access, all the things that you hear today are about, you need resources. You need access to capital, and especially if you're a food business, it is so expensive to try to have a kitchen to do what you want to do, right? It's the hardest thing to do, and yet they're the kind of jobs that are the jobs that will really support an awful lot of people. It's a lot of jobs per square foot. You don't need to have English as your first language. You don't need to have a college degree. You can have core issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And once you come into that job, there's huge opportunities for you to grow in the field. So this is an incredible job opportunity, particularly in low-income neighborhoods and urban settings. And so Crop Circle Kitchen as an organization has said, we need to find a way to take the magic that Darnell and her team have been doing in the JP kitchen and try to expand it and grow and leverage. So our plan is the unfortunate named Bornstein and Pearl. It's actually Bornstein and Pearl Small Business Food Production Center, I think is what it's called. This is a building in Dorchester in the Grove Hall neighborhood, poorest neighborhood, one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city. It is the former Pearl Hot Dog Factory. Vacant building, smoked meat for 60 years, employed about 100 people. They decided to move the factory out of the city, closed it down, all the jobs were lost. Because the people in this neighborhood were not paid well, couldn't get the transportation to get to Canton where the businesses went. Building's vacant. I got involved with Dorchester Bay Economic Development, a nonprofit that actually was able to buy the property and be crazy, right? That thing, you got to be crazy to do this stuff. There's only way to try to make these projects happen because no one will believe that you can do it. I'm here to say that you can. I promise you, these things work. So Dorchester Bay bought the building. It's a 2-acre site, 36,000 square foot building, which is about the size of a Stop and Shop. Big building. Right now, what are we in, 4,000 square feet in JP? 36,000 square feet. The building is set up with multiple loading docks, lots of small spaces, because what were they doing that was USDA? Process meat here, smoke it there, get it ready there. Alex's hot sauce, he makes his hot sauce in stock pots on a stove. And then he fills them by hand. This is not a way to create a business, long term. So what are we going to do? We're going to have a bigger shared kitchen where we're going to have steam kettles. We're going to have blast freezers. We're going to have way more cold and frozen storage and dry storage. Because if you're going to scale your business, you got to be able to buy in bulk. And the minute you're buying in bulk, guess what? Now we're coming to all of these other local businesses and being able to the food producers and say, we want to buy from you. We want to source locally because we're at scale. So big kitchen, much bigger. We think that that kitchen alone is going to have 40 to 50 businesses at a time sharing the kitchen. Not every minute of the day, probably 4 or 5 at a time, but overall. We also know in Boston the food trucks have exploded. And food trucks, they don't really play well with others. There's a certain culture about them that when they're hanging out with the chocolate people and the fig jam people, and they don't really get along well in the shared kitchen. And so we looked at it and said, you guys get your own space. So we started to put them in their own space, but of course, what are some of the problems with food trucks is there's all those different proteins. The health department, being the health department, said, we don't like the food trucks. We want them to each have their own separate space. Well, that defeats the purpose, because the purpose of what we're trying to do is to say, access to capital is a problem. If we create the space for people and we finance it on the real estate, so all they do is they show up, they pay a monthly fee, they pay a daily fee, they pay an hourly fee. That's how we make this work, right? It's co-op, small business, micro-leasing. It's how a gym works, right? Everybody pays a little and then everybody succeeds. So what are we doing with that kitchen? We said, okay, you know what? Fine, health department, you don't like it that way. We're gonna make it a co-packing kitchen, and we, Crop Circle Kitchen, as a nonprofit, we're going to run it. So what are we going to do? Roxy's Grilled Cheese, if that's who wants to come, we're going to make your grilled cheese for you. Banh Mi, the Vietnamese sandwich place, we're going to make your sandwiches for you. Bunch of businesses, we're going to do that. And what's that mean for them? It means we're buying in bulk again. Saves them money, right? It means that we're buying the stuff, we're making it every morning, we're putting it on their truck. They go out, they sell, they come back, we clean the truck, we prep for the next day, we get them back going. Get everything set up in that space so that it works for all those businesses. Who's the we that's going to do that? We're going to hire locally. We're talking to Community Servings, which is an organization that does a training program. They're taking young people coming out of prison, coming out of juvenile detention facilities, and they're training them. We want to hire them. We're going to run them through a training program. Start them out as a dishwasher, we want to bring them all the way up through. We think it'll be 20 or 30 businesses that are here. We're a year away from opening. We've been talking about this. Bo Loco restaurant, they're going to be my favorite business. I've never been there, but they're my favorite business now. 27 businesses, 27 stores in and around Boston. They really care about local sourcing. They said, geez, you know what? We would love it if you guys made all our hot sauce. If you guys shred our lettuce. If you guys source our cheese. Make our tortillas. So we're going to be working full time, probably round the clock, with this business that's going to be here in the kitchen, separate from the shared kitchen. That's number 2. So that's then not even done yet. The third thing we're doing. Okay, I'm done. So the third thing we're doing is those businesses, as they start to grow, they're in a shared kitchen. It doesn't always work for them. We really do want to get them ready to grow and go out. But sometimes they need a stop along the way. But they cannot afford it. It is too expensive. They do not have the access to capital for most of them to move. Even the folks like Roxy's, well known, struggling to find the financing as a business. So if you are less experienced than that and less knowledgeable, whew, good luck. So we're going to create somewhere between 6 and 10 small kitchens. Individual, separate, dedicated, fully ready to go. We're going to lease it to somebody. You walk in the door, you pay the rent, you use the kitchen. Our goal is to put people in there for between 2 to 5 years, get them ready, get them to expand. We're going to give them small business support, technical support, We're working with Babson, we're working with BU, we'd love to work with Tufts, to try to help these businesses individually as a group. We want to work with them together because many of them sell at the same places like Whole Foods, like Trader Joe's, like Foodies in the South End. Put them all together. Once they're all there, so we think there's 60 or 70 businesses there. We think there's 150 people employed here in the first 3 years. How amazing. That means they're all together. That means they're all supporting each other. What happens when they support each other? All businesses grow. Co-op, right? This project, it's only $14 million. Not a problem. So we actually are about 2 months from closing on the financing. We have $13 million so far. If you want a check, we'll pitch up the rest. We're gonna go anyway. We don't care. Project's too good. It's too important. We can get it done. So we will be in construction in May. We will be open in January. We will be open. God damn it. We will be open in January. I'm sick of it. Right? And then from there, we want to do another one. We believe before we even get this thing closed, people are going to want more. There's need for more. There's need for more in the city of Boston. We hear all the time, Lawrence, Lowell, Springfield, Holyoke. They all want this. We want to work with the Dorchester Food Co-op so that we're making the food and it's going there. Right? System change. We're going to change it. We got to change the system. So that's the project.
All right, so that was amazing. I just want to thank everyone again and have a moment for everyone to appreciate all of our speakers. Okay, so what's happening next? We're going to move to Eden Hall, which is a big white building? Yeah, it's just directly across the lawn that way. And again, us folks in the black t-shirts are going to help you get there. And so these are the room numbers where each of our presenters will be in. There's also a big sign when you first walk in the door. So if you forget now, you can remember again. And there's also people's names on each outside of the rooms. So if you forget a third time, you can wander around until you see a room that looks interesting. And after that, we're going to go back to the crane room, which is where we had lunch and snacks, and we're going to do a closing up. And that is where each of our presenters this afternoon is going to share one highlight and one action item that you and your discussion groups will have discussed and gone for.
When?
Oh, after everything. And there are 2 15-minute sessions. Sorry, so you go to one room for 15 minutes, and then we're going to come around with the cowbell, and that'll be announcing that you move to a different room for the second session for 15 minutes. And then we're going to move back to the crane room.